This is Alexa Linton, and you're listening to the Whole Horse Podcast. I'm coming to you from the Cowgirl Valley on beautiful Vancouver Island in Canada, and I'm excited to be bringing amazing instructors from around the world to share their knowledge about all the ways that we can keep ourselves and our horses well and happy, and about some of the cutting edge techniques, training, and different aspects that are coming into the horse industry and changing it from within. I'm so excited you're here, and I'm excited about the times that we live in and the shifts that are happening in the horse industry before our eyes. Let's get started. Hi, everyone. It's Alexa Linton, and you're on the Whole Horse Podcast. Today on the podcast, I have my bestie, Stefanie Travers. And this is our first podcast together, which is very exciting. Welcome, Stefanie.
I know, strange.
So we're going to be chatting today about a few things. We're going to get to know Stefanie a little bit, and we're also going to be talking about our co-creation, our little baby, the Cowgirl Re-union.
Our baby.
About that. Yeah. So let's dive in. Stefanie, I know everything. Well, not everything about you, but a lot of things about you. Tell these wonderful peeps a little bit more about what you're up to, and your amazing life with horses.
Oh my gosh, I'm not even really sure how to summarize it in a little package, but my whole life is being about horses. And then I finally started to make a career of it as a farrier, which sort of took me by surprise. It wasn't something I had planned, but I've loved my career as a farrier, which then morphed into a deep appreciation of barefoot trimming, which makes me a little bit unusual in the hoof care world, that I have literally a foot in both worlds. And I've loved that. And I really cherish that I can do both and understand both, at least menially well. And then I moved from Vancouver Island because I was born and raised there. Moved from Vancouver Island in 2007. Was it 2007? I moved in 2007 up to the interior of BC in Merritt.
2007.
And started training horses. Yeah, 7. So started training horses full time, which was a whole other learning curve, and loved it. And still to that point, wasn't what I would call a people person. I had a really strong connection to animals, but not so much people. And of course, as you start to train horses, you realize that it's really never about the horse. It's always about the people and that relationship. So that accidentally dropped me into the world of becoming a teacher and a clinician, and much to my absolute surprise, I loved it. And as nerve-wracking as it was when I started, it's very much become a passion of mine to share that passion and that joy of our horses, and how do we deepen our relationship with one another and understand the differences that are in there as well. So that went on for a decade or so, developing that business, still doing footwork as well. And I like to say the other part of my life that was always powerful, but very, very much hidden, was my love of art. And like I said, it came stomping up from the basement one day and just went, okay, you are going to start painting. I have literally been carried along by this wave of fine art, passion, and love, of course, around the horses. So as I look forward in my life, the art is definitely a piece that wants to come forward for me. And it meshes completely with the love of the art of the hoof and the art of horsemanship, and just basically the art of the horse. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
For sure. And I mean, life over the last couple of years has sort of gone, okay, we're really going in this direction. So
yeah, because I was injured quite severely in a farrier accident, and it was the universe dropping an anvil on my head going, you really need to pay attention to what's important. And and certainly brought a humility and an understanding to a whole new level of reaching out for help, and not being so independent and so strong, which were values that I really cherished for a very long time, and made myself very independent and very self-reliant. And that accident brought a whole new perception and awareness of community, and how incredibly valuable and how challenging it is to accept the love of other people who want to support you and just be there for you, which is really quite interesting when you think about, a couple of years before that, we started the reunion with those values very much in mind. And it was like the universe is, gave me an opportunity very clearly to see what it was like to accept and develop community, and not always be on the supporting end, to be actually on the receiving end, that very strong feminine part that, as a strong woman, but strong in almost a masculine way, understanding that strength of femininity in the receiving end. And believe me, as we were talking just before we started this, that is a challenge still, that receiving of goodness, of life. So
well, I think it's a continuous learning edge, especially for us as women, and where we give ourselves away, or we avoid being clear because we're afraid of conflict, or being disliked, or making someone upset, so there's
taking
lots
space,
taking up space,
realizing that we can take space, and we are of value. And of course that's, money is such a great representation of that, and whether you accept yourself wholly and your worth and your value. And of course, the irony is not lost on me, because often, I try to inspire people to accept all their amazing qualities and their goodness, and to run with it. And it's like mirror, mirror on the wall, right? But that is to me how life works, right? We teach what we most need to learn.
Absolutely.
Certainly, watching our baby, the reunion, develop and turn into what it has turned itself into, very much an entity on its own. And the gifts that I know it brings me, and I can see it brings you, that are in line with those values that we do cherish, that we're like, oh yeah, right, that applies to us too. It was a pretty fascinating process to be a part of.
Yeah, for sure. And for those of you out there that don't know about the Cowgirl Reunion, we're going to tell you about it. And we wanted
all about it.
We wanted to take this opportunity to sort of share more about it, because I think, for many of us, the reunion was a culmination really of Steph and I going, if we could do anything we wanted to do, what would it be? It was really around this sense of being in a space of living into our dream, of bringing women together and being creative and being playful and being connected and collaborative. It
completely,
quite amazing kind of how it all came about. And I think, are we going into I can't remember, 5th year or 6th year right now? 5th year?
I think
I should know that.
It's the 5th year. So 2 in Hidden Valley, 2 in 7.5, and then this year. Because our first year was a bit of a flop.
It totally was.
The world wasn't quite ready for us yet.
Yeah, so the first year we tried it out, and people were like, I don't know.
What?
What's that? And so it didn't quite do anything. It sort of like got its like baby wings, and then got about 2.5 feet off the ground and went, no, it's not happening.
Not quite happening.
And then the next year, it totally happened. It totally happened. It was quite a wild ride that year.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And the first year was great, because we really, I think, as we look back on it, it was a realization that was the first time I looked at you and you looked at me, and we realized that this thing really did have a life of its own, and it wanted to become something. And we were literally the custodians of what the reunion was all about. And, you can say, was the time right for it? Who knows? But I think as much as it resonates with you and I, it resonates with so many women. And I would, all the gals that I talked to, even yesterday, someone said to me, literally, it was the most significant event in her life so far, other than getting married. And that's quite astonishing.
Yes.
Right. And she's not a one-off that says this. And, you and I know, can't really take credit for that, because it truly is a creature that has a life of its own. And I think for me, when I look back as to why did we start this, it was, that comes from that idea from Marianne Williamson, who says, by lighting another's candle, you don't take away from your own light. There's that creating a space for women to realize that they can be supported by other women, which is so missing in our first world communities, right? There's this place where there's space and there's support and there's awareness and there's a cherishment of everything unique that we bring. And it's almost not really stated in the work that happens in the 4 or 5 days of the reunion, but it happens as they go home.
Mm-hmm.
These people are fundamentally gifted with this awareness that it's okay to be brilliant and to shine.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have a puppy, as you do, so I'm trying to manage her quietly.
We have a puppy on either end of this little recording.
Literally on either end.
Yeah. Steph is up in Merritt right now, and
with a Great Dane puppy.
With a Great Dane puppy and her other Great Dane. And so. Yeah, speaking to the Cowgirl Reunion, we have a lot of moving pieces. It's quite a thing that happens. I think, what was it last year? We had 23 women and 23 horses or something like that. It was like quite a thing. I think we were like almost maxed out on paddock space. It was. It was very fun. And we have an amazing team that comes and helps. Now it's like becoming more and more consistent as well. So we're very, very blessed.
Well, and I think to also share what the pieces of what it's all about would be really great too. I mean, there's your piece that you bring, the piece that I bring, the piece that our help brings, and how it all comes together is. There's so many different aspects between, cherishing who we are as women and the hidden aspects of us as literally as women, and our clothing and how we present ourselves in the world and how we see ourselves as in our bodies is a big piece of it. And then, a lot of the stuff that I bring is that connective piece between our horses, our specific horses, not just horses as a generality, but as horses that we chose to have in our lives and they chose us, and what they want to share with us, and giving space for that to unfold. And your work that often, I think last year was our first year that we actually really figured out a methodology to how we put our groups through, because we divide people into groups and they go through, sort of cycle through each of our leaders' spaces. And, we talk about, which order they should go through things, how we should torture them so that it best brings out their walls that they need to gently splatter up against, right?
We usually put our alumni with me first, so I can, I can really go to town on some cool shit. Darn, I said swear words, so now I have to put explicit on the podcast. That's annoying. Can beat it out. I always swear this is you. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, I'm a bit of a potty mouth over here. Yeah, it was really interesting last year how we worked that, and so to give you a sense of these teams, these leaders. So Steph and I, of course, but also we have Audrey, Sassy Six Gun, who comes with, oh my God, I can't even imagine, like 100 gowns and hoop skirts and corsets galore and jewelry and hats,
gloves and
shoes and yeah, so many guns and yes, and we just adore her. She also brings her pistols to teach us about shooting pistols, which is a pretty amazing experience as well, and really life-changing for a lot of women to feel that. And
it is, because the guns are not something that is, as part of our Canadian culture, is really, and a lot of us shy away from. But there's such a, and I don't understand the psychology of it, but there's such a power in holding, a silver 6-gun and killing innocent balloons with them, right? It's quite, and even the sound of it, and just, it's a lot of women hesitate about that part of it. And yet the glee that's on the other end of that handle when it goes off, it is pretty fun to watch. So Audrey brings such an amazing piece with that to us.
Absolutely. And just so you know, they're blanks and all the horses totally settle down. The first shot, they're like, woo! And then they're like, okay, this is fine. So it's pretty interesting to watch. And the horses it's really beautiful to see them, because they get a sense of real partnership, and they also are able to, there's so many balanced horses there that even the ones that are, maybe a little bit fussy or upset, they actually co-regulate really beautifully all together. And we all get to hang together, and we ride together, and it's quite amazing to see some of the transformations in the horses and in the partnerships, especially with the piece that you bring, Steph. I just love to see the changes that happen through that. Yeah,
it's a pretty powerful piece that we do that morning, that people come and hang with me. And I don't know if we want to talk about what happens with that,
I don't know.
Or
keep it a surprise.
And it is, the thing that I get to do with them is something that I stumbled upon years ago by myself and started to share, and wasn't sure if it would work in a group environment, but it does. And it is it can be really annoying to some people.
Oh yeah.
And very frustrating to some people. And because it's forced stillness. And it's really interesting for me to sit there and watch, because we divide our girls up, we take 16 people now for this, and we divide them into 4 groups of 4, and that's basically your group. As we cycle through, the mornings are dedicated to, being in each of our groups. So me, Audrey, you, and then a spare. And to sit there and get to observe 16 women and their horses and their interaction and their stories they tell each other, and their relationship platforms, and the gifts that the horses are ready to extend out to the humans, and vice versa. We bring gifts to our horses, make no mistake, and we're always looking at what they can teach us, but we have to realize that we teach them as well. It's pretty profound. I get quite emotional through the morning watching what happens with those interactions. So it's really fun. And then of course in the afternoon we all divvy up into trail rides, and some people hand walk their horses, or some you don't even have to go out.
Nope.
Right? So the afternoon is more low key. And I think as I look back, Alexa, at what our first year we tried 5 days first, and then we tried 3 days, and we've landed on 4 days as the perfect magic number for this reunion. And we've also learned to cut some stuff out because we were trying to jam so much in. People were getting exhausted, right?
Totally.
So remembering that we need space for people to go, holy cow, what just happened, right?
Yeah.
And you can certainly opt out of anything that doesn't appeal, right? So there's a great deal of freedom within that. So.
Well, I just wanted to totally speak to that because, this idea around time, I think, is such an important one. You know,
right.
in our day-to-day, so often we're just like, back to back. You and I both know this, right? It's like, even trying to find a space for this podcast, me and Steph, I mean, I think we went through like 3 different times, and it's like, I can't do now because this thing happened. And, this sense of like our lives get so busy and full and just packed with stuff. And to have those 4 days, I think that's actually one of the greatest gifts, is just to have those 4 days where there's no pressure. You can do whatever you want. You also have the opportunity to say no to whatever you want, and you can just enjoy your horses, enjoy your time. We have so much fun watching how our gals like set themselves up, like we had one pair of gals last year that just like full on went to town with their awning of their trailer, and they were like fully set up with, all the things. And just, their lovely like chairs, and they just had this relaxing, beautiful
margaritas time. And their
exactly, margaritas doing the thing. And so that's really fun to see. And we've actually created some more spaciousness this year, just because people are like, we want to be able to stay, we want to be able to have more time, and really exciting this year because we've had so many alumni that want to come back. We've actually created an alumni event. Yay.
That's great. We'll see how that one flies.
We'll see how it goes. We're planning for
those brave ladies.
Yes, taking it to the next level. So we have an event called Reunited this year that's right before the reunion. And to me, it just speaks real volumes to, it makes me really excited, and I don't know if the word is proud or
it is proud,
right? I think these gals we've gotten to know so well, and to see the changes and the shifts they've made in their lives, and how like raring to go they are for like the next level of things, and for the next level of their horse partnerships. It's really sort of warms the cockles of the heart, so to speak, to see that. And I know,
and I'm really, really excited about the Reunited, because it's going to call on you and I to step up as well to the next piece, because there's like an evolution that seems to be happening, and some of these gals that are coming to the Reunited, this is their 3rd year running, right? So apparently they still think we have something to offer as far as embracing the evolution of what this journey through life as a woman, especially a woman who chooses to have horses in her life, is all about. And what you said earlier is, I think, a big piece in its deceptive simplicity. We created an event where, by choosing to come to it, the women have chosen to gift themselves with that space and time where it's not an educational horse clinic. It's not something like that. It's literally a retreat for the soul of both the horse and the human. And deciding to commit your time and your finances, your energy and your organization to get yourself up there is a real commitment to self. And I think that inherently is a big piece of, there hasn't been one person who's come to this event that haven't been wholeheartedly there. Even, a couple of them were resisting. I think we had one lady who was trying to bolt almost every day, but she stayed because it just it just took root. It just took hold, and she couldn't get away, right? You know, that commitment to self, that decision that everybody who comes makes to be there, predisposes them to literally be there. Like in that word, you know, like the quotations, be there, and the rest just, you know, once that openness is there, the rest just kind of pours in.
Absolutely.
I'm guessing.
Oh yeah. Well, and you know, for those of you out there listening in, you might be like, well, what's this have to do with me? And like, I can't go to the Cowgirl Reunion because I live in a totally different part of the world. But I think just recognizing that, taking that time with you and your horse, and I mean, just going out and sitting in the paddock, or, you know, taking those deep breaths, or making it a ritual, you know, having fun. We have something called the Cowgirl Games on one of the nights, and we just play. Yeah. We just totally play and make up silly games, and it's quite amazing what happens. And those are all things that you out there can like create for yourself, you know, connecting more to your feminine, you know, having a date night with your partner, your hubby, or yourself. I do that myself. I have too many sequin dresses in my closet, like leave them there all the time. And so, and another thing we bring forward here is just capturing that. So we always bring in one of our favorite photographers to this whole thing.
Forgot about that whole part.
Yeah. And not that we need to go out and get a photo shoot, right? Like at this point, but it's so cool to get in front of the lens at some point and feel so good there. I don't think Steph has watched Queer Eye yet, but for any of you out there, I've just gone on a Queer Eye binge, and I love it. And I think that the pertinence of this is that sense of someone who can go, I feel amazing in my skin, and I feel so, like Steph said, present and at peace with who I am. You know, I love that, bringing all those gifts to the table, really pulling those out and making them a reality in our world. It's such a powerful process, and then capturing those. And that, I think, is something that potentially you all out there can create for yourself as well, which would be super, super cool, to have that, you know, that greater sense of yourself. That's really what we want, eh?
Right from the get-go, it was very clear that we wanted to have a professional quality photographer document what was unfolding for the gals. And that was another part of the gift to self, is that rarely would you go, okay, well, I'm going to go get a photographer and spend the day with my horses getting these super cool photos. And, you know, you do something like with your All Lit Up, where there's a piece of dress, hair, and makeup that's part of it. So that has actually just been such another layer of a gift to us and to the participants, to see these amazing photographs, because we see this. You remember the first reunion? I certainly remember the first reunion, where the first batch of gals come out of the saloon, and literally the people who were riding with their horses with me, because the saloon was above the arena, we stopped, and we were looking at each other going, who's that? We didn't even recognize, we didn't know who they were, right? And for those gals to see, and there's this playfulness and this silliness and this energy that happens because you're nervous and you're putting on clothes that aren't normal for you, and hats and gloves and veils and you know, fascinators and corsets, you know, it makes you, that nervousness energy brings out this life force in these girls that then the photographer captures. And I think that's what you see coming through in these photos, is this girl-like, literally girl-like persona. You know, the layers are stripped away of who we think we are because of this playfulness that comes in. And we have had some amazing photographers, your own, Devin that lives with you there on the property, and, Candace Camille. And this year we have Kim Taylor coming, who's just an
Kim
incredible
Taylor
Western icon.
is our reunited photographer. And
Connie Ellis.
Candace is going to be our
right?
photographer. So we have 2 this year.
So we have 2. And, if you go to, our Facebook page and the website, you get to see some of these photos. And a lot of times they capture paparazzi photos of just the girls with their horses in a day-to-day way, where they're feeding or cleaning or sitting with them or laughing and sharing a cider and hanging out and chit-chatting. So there's a whole range of this, literally, as you said, this lens looking in to what we're creating that is a take-home piece for these girls. And I know so many of them are like, I had no idea I could even look like that, right? And of course we see that on the outside, but often when we're the person, you just don't think that you can look like that and feel like that, and there's that joy that comes out. So right, the photography part is pretty cool.
I love it. Obviously I'm a bit of a, what would you call me?
You are.
I love being in front of the camera. Let's just put it that way. And I love dress up. I love dress up so much. So yeah, I usually.
And that's a piece that's a weak piece for me, right? Like I tend to bolt and shy and run away, and I'm the gal with no face photos ever. And,
yes. Yes. We call Steph the shadow rider.
Shadow rider.
Their hat's always over her face. It's getting
adds
better.
To the mystery.
Yeah, for sure. And it's I love those opportunities for photos with our, like, just capturing the connection we have with our horses. I think they're so priceless. The reality of us and horses is that it's an unpredictable thing. We don't know how long we're going to be with our partners, and to have those moments captured is, just an incredible opportunity. So whether or not you can come to the reunion, hopefully this encourages you to, if you've got fears around it, to move past some of those fears and really allow yourself to adventure into those spaces and capture some of those moments. They're really, really amazing. Yeah. And
truly, that fear process, like I just can't overstate enough that there's a complete net of safety at the reunion, where it's completely understood, especially in our open ceremonies that we do the first night, and that you are never required to do anything. This is very much, we encourage you to push the edges a little bit, but it's not a requirement. And all the women that show up co-support one another in such an incredibly profound way that often, girls feel safe to try things that they never thought they would before. Sorry, Alexa, I don't even know how to deal with it.
It's fine. We've both got dog stuff going on around here. This is the reality of our lives.
Yeah. The odd noises.
I think that's a beautiful point, though. I think, very often in our lives we feel, and it was great. I was chatting with Heather yesterday for our podcast as well, and we were chatting about her new little pony, and she said he was a feral pony. She trained him almost entirely with positive reinforcement, and it was so interesting. She said there was so much, he was so ready to try things because there was no force around it. He never felt that he was going to be pressured into anything that he didn't want to do. And so it actually made him, it helped him to be more confident in everything that he was doing. So for example, she would stand with the halter, holding the halter, but she wouldn't go towards him. He had to come and put his head in the halter to like be able to get the reward that he wanted, or, you know, and it was so interesting.
It's a great analogy.
Right. And it's so fun to listen to the story that she was telling, because, you know,
you don't have to put this corset on, but I'm going to stand here and hold this until
I'm
you
going to
do.
hold it out. And you're going to go, wow, that looks pretty cool. Even though I can't breathe. Yeah, you know, and those sorts of things though, where it's like taking the pressure off, you know, that nothing is forced.
Mm-hmm.
It's all kind of open invitation, and there's absolutely space for you to say no, or, you know, do something different or change it up to something that feels good for you. And I think, you know, in our world in particular, this is such a big thing where, you know, many of us as women, a part of our journey, a part of our learning, God, I know Steph and I can attest to this, is boundaries. Mm-hmm. And being able to tune into our own bodies and go, that feels good for me, or that doesn't feel good for me, right? And being able to voice our concerns or voice our no, and feel like that's going to be met really beautifully and softly, you know?
Absolutely. And the horses, you know, bring that piece where they so directly reflect what we're feeling internally, even if we're not, you know, perhaps cognizant of it. And of course, there's a whole entire, you know, realm of equine therapy based on that. And the 4 days that we run this, you know, there's everything sort of runs back through the filter of the horse. So, you know, there's a lot of self exploration that goes on. But the horses themselves, like, you know, when there's jittery people, particularly on the first day of the trail ride, right? This is usually the most sort of dangerous day, where we're all on sort of high alert to manage, you know, 16 horses, and, you know, how do we divide people up into to spaces? Because we have people on young horses, or people who have been injured and still coming back from surgeries that are a part of it. And how do we keep the whole thing safe, and yet an adventure, a positive adventure, and managing and watching the horses try to manage their emotions for their people, and also give feedback on, you know, what are these people feeling, where they may look like they have bravado and everything, but the horse is falling apart, right? And, you know, your work very much brings in the piece of them looking at that and wondering why, and what pieces can be addressed and looked at and healed, and even just a light shone on it. Those horses, they just continue to surprise me, you know, in the day-to-day interactions, especially as I look down on, you know, the mornings where people come and feed their horses and they clean, and, you know, there's that wonderful clinic atmosphere where, you know, there's the chores being done and the horses hook into one another. And we've had a couple of situations, you know, where there was a bit of a drama, and how the horses, like you said earlier, hold the space for not only each other but us. And yet when they demonstrate emotional releases, how that often triggers us. And to know that when a horse runs, it's a release of energy, and then it brings them back into balance, and we don't often allow ourselves to do that. So there's a whole exploration, you know, into the gifts that the horses want to bring back to us through it all. And I love that that's the common denominator through this reunion. It's not just a normal sort of a woman's retreat. There's this crazy, amazing horse part that comes into it.
Yeah, and they just offer up so much. We think of our horses that are there as full-on participants. They're just as much a part of it as the women that join us. And it's really fun too, because I think, you know, Steph and I, you've probably noticed this through the podcast. Like I'm, you know, I got some out there stuff. I love like learning new things, you know, opening my mind to new things. And so, you know, our team members are amazing that way. So Krista Miramati, who's joining us again this year, generally does a couple of Qigong and Tai Chi classes in the mornings. And Steph,
down by the lake.
down by the lake, it's so beautiful. Steph usually takes like 2 or 3 of the mornings. Takes everybody out
small
for a
handful of
crazy long trot ride at like some ridiculous hour. I don't usually go, it's too early. But these sorts of things are so fun. And we kind of created it from a place of like, what's going to be really fun for people and for us, what would we enjoy doing? And mixing it up and trying different things, and I mean, really, I guess a big part of this too is honoring the land that we get to spend time on as well. So
sure.
it's so 7.5 Diamond Ranch up near Merritt is just a stunning space to spend time. And I think for any of us horse people out there, the land that we get to kind of hang our hat on, and our horses get to move around on is big stuff. It's important stuff. Yeah. And so this sense of, we really try, in the ways that we can to honor that space and what it provides for all of us.
Absolutely. And to honor, this is our 3rd year now at 7.5 Diamond, and Jim and Heather O'Connor, the creators and keepers of that space and that land, they themselves are quite remarkable in, everything that's created on that property comes from that property, the buildings, and their love of that land, and their caretaking of that land, and everything that happens on it is very clear, and as well as beyond, before their time. That space just really has, we just can't stop taking photographs of it because it just is this crazy show off, mist coming off all the lakes that are around it, and the aspen trees and the rolling hills. It's just so quintessentially Western, and breathtakingly beautiful, right? It's
yeah, it is for sure. And now that we, it's pretty funny. Steph always says that I can get lost in a paper bag, which is essentially true. And so I've learned the property by trial and error. I think Jana and I set a record when we had to turn our group around like 6 different times on one trail ride. We were only out for about an hour and a half. And it's really not a tricky property to get around. But I got to see a lot of the pieces that I wouldn't have seen before. And this year we're planning on some bigger stuff as well, with our alumni group. It's a beautiful property to ride on. And we also encourage people to go out and enjoy themselves. We usually set up a treasure hunt as well, just to keep things fun.
Yep.
And we just kind of are like kids at heart, really. Okay.
Exactly. And that's just such a creation of the whole thing is about allowing ourselves to go be a kid again. The treasure hunt, the cowgirl games, the dress up, that's all accessing that childish energy that we're too grown up to do, right? But there's creativity, and there's life force, and there's healing in that childishness. And we don't, what human woman grown up gets to go do a treasure hunt, right? And, look for various things and, have to write, poetry or something. It just is, it's fun, and it's meant to throw you a little bit off kilter.
Yep.
So that you can access those places. We had some great teams that came, or women who came for the cowgirl games, wearing, crazy colored wigs and their
bathing suits
bikinis on the outside
outside
of
of,
their clothes.
yeah, which turned out to be a stellar plan. The gal that won,
Yeah,
she went from probably a size 8 bathing suit, and I think it probably ended up about a size 30 by the end.
exactly.
She ended up being able to shove 30 balloons inside of it strategically, which was
Exactly.
yeah.
Oh,
There must
yeah,
be photographic evidence somewhere of that. Lindy, wow, what a
there
gal.
must be. Gone from a B cup to a triple G cup, right? How many water balloons can be involved in this? So
Totally. We have a good time.
yeah,
I want to just
we have a good time.
I want to extend thanks to our other helpers, so Jana Hunter and Emma Woodland, if they're listening, and all the people
For sure.
to help us out with this.
When you think about Jana coming from Saskatchewan, this will be her 3rd year. She drives all the way out from Saskatchewan.
Yep.
She makes it a big adventure. It's quite remarkable. And I think this year we have some people coming from Alberta. So it's certainly sort of spreading its wings a bit further. And yeah, very, very fun. Jana and Emma are gifts for sure.
Yeah, big time. And I hope all you out there have community that you get to play with your horses and enjoy.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I know in the horse community can be a tricky one at times, and that's something I think Steph and I both want to change, is that sense of competitiveness and disconnection between women in the horse industry, and to bring those feminine qualities back in, of really talking out our differences and learning about diverse, the sense of where people come from and why they might do a certain thing, why they might train a certain way, or and really starting to understand those things. We've had people come from every part of the horse industry. We had one year where we had a show jumper come, and dressage riders, and all these people from different sides of things, coming together and learning from each other, and that can be really, really profound, to see the different sides of things and learn different parts of it that you may not have understood, that can be really beneficial for you and your horse. Yeah, and appreciating differences, appreciating that, and there is that sense where you're like, wow, when you can see people learning from each other, sharing insights, and the path that they've walked with it all. Oh yeah.
Your turn with the dog.
Oh my gosh, I know. Yeah, we've got a crew outside here. It's like big time. And
I'm waiting for Rose to see Riley.
Oh, I know, right? Rose and Riley are our dogs, our big dogs, our besties. So they're like, what's going on over there? I'm hearing a friend.
I'm hearing a friend.
Yeah.
With the reunion, I think there's just so many, different aspects, and yet they all weave together into this creation that I think for each woman, it becomes what they most need it to be. And that's not something that could have ever been predicted. And, the friendships that we're seeing that go on, that go on post reunion, the connections that the gals have made, and the communities that they've developed beyond the reunion is also quite a gift to watch, and to know that they do feel supported by each other. It's not a competitive horse deal that we've made. It's how do we come together and inter-support one another. I think there's a number of times I keep sort of seeing on social media, you're like, wow, those gals are getting together and doing this together now, and they're doing that together, or it's very, very special that it creates the safety for that to happen.
Absolutely.
And I'm really looking forward to this year. I mean, to have a alumni group, such a big, strong alumni group, and what that's going to call on us to do. And that was quite by accident, because we had so many people wanting to come back. We realized that we weren't going to have any space for new people.
Yeah.
So it's, you're like, okay, it's wonderful. And let's, so, there's a few spots left in this year's reunion that I don't think will be there very often or for very long.
Mm-hmm.
I wish we could offer more lease horses, but we don't have that availability to do that. We tried the one guest ranch version, and we may go back to it in the future.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Big
Absolutely.
bar. That's why you were thinking, is it 5 or 6? So, big bar, so that we had rental horses for gals that didn't have access to a horse. And that was a whole different deal, but also very, very powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really cool, for sure. And one day, if we find the right space, I think that's gonna come back to life, that one. And when I'm not in school. We planned it the one year for September, and it was like, oh, Murphy's Law, of course, it's on the same weekend.
Yeah.
It was not going to work out. And I want to really speak to, because it's not all like sunshine and roses, obviously stuff comes up. We're like a massive bunch of women all stuck together for 5 days or whatnot. And so we've had things,
stuff comes up,
right? We've had things go on, and we've had things that we've had to work through. And, we're really, we really stress that stress is not the right word, but it's really important for us that we prioritize, and we make bring to the surface that inclusiveness is so critical for us. This sense of women feeling supported in what's going on for them, that they feel heard. And yeah, the conflicts happen. I mean, me and Steph got in a bit of a thing last year, and we're really proud of ourselves for kind of coming through it and working it out and having those conversations that were hard, and actually becoming stronger friends and partners in this work because of it. So,
and that's so critical,
yeah,
it is. Stuff comes up. It's real life, and not to run away from it or talk behind, each other's backs, to face it full on. And I love that I don't love it, but, we had our conflict, and to be an example of facing it head on, and to realize, that these things happen, and yet to also honor what's important to the other person, and what's important to the situation, and what the reunion stands for, which is, as you said, inclusivity and honoring of differences. And yet the baseline is the safety and the compassion, and the absolute honoring of who we are as individuals is so important to the reunion.
Big time. And through that, I hope that everyone who joins us feels fully safe in that space, and that they also feel fully safe in sharing with us what's going on. And I hope that you have that, out there in the world, in your own communities, or it's something that you're able to cultivate in communities that maybe you lead, or that you're a part of. Because I think that the more that we can kind of come together around this, the happier our horses' lives are going to be, and the more that ripples out into the world. And, I think that's really why most of us are here, is because, we love horses. We love the partnerships that we create with them. We've probably loved them since we were little tiny girls, and
single cell creatures,
right? Exactly. I don't remember when I was like, horses, I cannot recall a time where I wasn't completely obsessed. And I think if we can, you know, bring that awareness in of like, this is what it's about, you know, for us. And it's about connection, and it's about friendship, and it's about coming together in powerful and transformative ways that actually allow us to do better in the world, in our relationships with our horses, like all those places, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting. Just as you were saying that, I was reflecting on that word friendship. The reunion is about friendship. It's about, you know, femininity and embracing ourselves as a woman, which means friendship with yourself. Are you a friend to yourself? Are you good to yourself? Are you a friend to your horse? And can you be a friend to people who you resonate with? And can you be a friend to people who you actually don't resonate with? And can you still embrace their, you know, their uniqueness in this world? So I really love that reflection of friendship, because it truly is, you know, about a friendship and a community. I'm pretty honored to be a part of this. I'm pretty amazed at how it wants to seem to develop and evolve, and I'm very excited. And you know, it's April now. It's only a few months before it actually starts to happen. And you know, it's been an amazing gift to me as a horsewoman, as a woman, period, to be a part of this. And yeah, I hope it continues to grow, and you know, maybe we get to go to Australia one year. And,
yeah. I know there's some gals that want us to come over. So yeah, might have to take this show on the road.
Yeah.
I think that'd be so fun. Yeah.
It would be amazing.
It would be amazing.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're like almost in an hour, so we're just gonna wrap it up here. So if you're interested in the reunion, and you want to know more, and you live close enough by, as we say, Jenna drives all the way from Saskatchewan, so it is possible. You can go to www.cowgirlreunion.com and check it out. The event is listed there. You can also message Steph or I either on Facebook. There is a Cowgirl Reunion Facebook page as well. You can go on there and check it out, see all the pictures and things. And as for Stefanie, who's amazing, she's one of my main trainers, and has taught me some amazing things about maintaining and knowing and understanding Diva's feet, and also has helped me to embrace my inner artist. Yay, Stefanie! You can find her. Where should we find you right now?
Either Stefanie Travers Finding Art is my Facebook page, and the website is stephanietravers.ca.
Yep.
The website is not super up to date, but that's where you can find me. And I teach simple one-day art courses that really is just about getting you over the scary hump of thinking that you could even possibly put paint to canvas. And I also love doing commissions for people of their horses. So if you want to check out my stuff, that would be wonderful. And yeah.
Nice. Yes. And of course I have two Stefanie Travers amazing pieces of art. I'm very lucky to be sitting one of her gorgeous horse.
Yeah, right. Sitting.
Yeah, he's hanging on my wall, and then of course a Diva painting as well, and I love them. She's so talented. Check it out, stephanietravers.ca. And yeah, thanks Steph for coming on and sharing about our little passion together. And for being
we should also say that that there's that amazing video movie that
Oh yeah.
was made.
Oh yeah, I'll post it in the resources. I'll post it down below the
Yeah.
podcast. So if you just scroll down on wholehorse.ca, you can check it out. It's really good. It's very inspiring. My mom's in it and she's so cute.
Your mom and her little corset. It's so great.
For sure.
So yes, and I actually had an inquiry a couple of days ago from someone asking what the age range was for the reunion, and I actually answered. I didn't sort of run it through you, but I had told this gal, so we haven't really had anyone beneath the age of 16, and I think maybe that's why that is, or maybe we're just not prepared to take anybody younger than that, or it's not really applicable yet. So 16 to about 100 is our age range.
For sure.
And yeah, and we seem to run an average of 30s to late 50s, early 60s, but I'm not sure, but it fits whatever age you are and wherever you are with your physicality. Like I said, some of the gals have had injuries or surgeries, and they weren't sure if they could come. And yes, of course you can come. It's a great space to heal yourself or to honor your body and what it needs to go through. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, fire us off. Any questions or concerns or inquiries? We'll love to talk to you.
Totally. We would absolutely love it. Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you, my dear friend.
And oh my gosh, it was fun.
Yeah, totally. And thanks everyone out there who has tuned in today and had to listen, taken time out of your schedules. I hope you learned something and maybe you'll join us one day, which would be awesome. I'd love to see you. Yeah. And we'll see you next time for a podcast very, very soon. Bye for now.